All right, week 3 begins tonight. It is Thursday. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy Football Today. We are going to preview the AFC home games today. There are 6 of them, and we're going to throw in a little bonus for you. We're going to throw in Monday Night Football, the Bears at the Redskins. 7 games to preview today, 8 games tomorrow. Try to talk a little bit of trade and decide who we like. You know, it seems like we're going to be bookended by some great primetime games. Thursday Night Football, Tennessee, Jacksonville. Monday Night Football, Washington, Chicago. How exciting, Dave.
It is. It's a fantastic time to be alive.
Here are a couple of Week 15 stats for all of you to chew on now.
Wait, Week 15?
It's just, sorry. Week 3 stats.
If that was a Freudian slip, that had to have been a Freudian slip, right?
Well, here, 9 running backs.
I wish it was Week 15
50.
already.
Big Giants-Dolphins game in Week 15. So, yeah. 9 running backs.
Just fast forward to that day.
15 or more carries. There it is against the Bengals last year. 15 or more carries, 9 times. All 9 of those running backs had 100 rushing yards or a touchdown or both. And that continued in week 1 with Chris Carson. So is Frank Gore going to get 15 carries, guys? What do you think?
I would say so, yeah.
I do too.
Unless they're losing, which would be a huge surprise.
And then what if he breaks that mold of 100 yards or a touchdown rushing?
Oh, I think he'll get a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to do both.
Oh, he won't do both. Well, he might. Yeah, you never know. Jared Goff. Jared Goff has thrown more than 1 touchdown pass in 1 of his last 10 games.
Yeah. He also has only 1 game with over 300 yards in his last 10 games.
Yeah. That's including the postseason and obviously getting back. So,
good matchup this week, though.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, guys, give me a player you are avoiding this week. Then we'll talk about someone that we're excited to start. But players we're avoiding. Heath, why don't you kick it off?
I'm avoiding Latavius Murray. I'm just a little bit worried about what this offense looks like in their first game. I know it's going to be a lot of Michael Thomas. I expect it's going to be a lot of Alvin Kamara, but there has not been enough volume for Murray so far, and there may not be enough touchdown opportunities either.
Frank Gore over Murray?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
All right. Murray at Seattle. Jamie, who are you avoiding this week?
Joe Mixon, if I can. I don't have any Joe Mixon shares, but I would avoid him if you can. I don't like the setup for him in that matchup against Buffalo. I don't know how healthy he is. I'm hoping that he comes out of this game, showing me something, showing us something, that he's, back to the guy that we drafted in their first 15 overall picks. But, it's been a struggle so far, mostly due to the injury. But we'll see. They may get Cordy Glenn Black. That would be nice, to get the offensive line going in the right direction. But just a tough matchup against Buffalo.
Interesting. That's kind of sad that it's week 3 and we're already talking about sitting Joe Mixon.
Most people can't, so I think it's just one of those things you just got to really lower what the ceiling is.
Who are you starting over Mixon?
Frank Gore.
I've gone back and forth between those two, and I just don't know if I can bring myself to put Frank Gore.
And I'm sure that's the sentiment.
They're literally back-to-back in my rank.
That's the sentiment amongst most people, and understandably so. You would be sick to your stomach when you bench a guy that you drafted in your first 2 rounds. That's healthy. And playing him for a guy that's 55 years old and the backup. But that's the scenario that you're at.
I'd sit Mixon in PPR for the receiving backs. White, Cohen, and Chris Thompson.
2 of those I agree with.
Not Cohen.
No, I mean, it's not getting touches.
It's too bad.
All right, Dave, who are you avoiding this week?
Cover your ears, Heath. I can't trust Tyrell Williams at sub 100% going up against the Vikings. I think this is a get-right game for Minnesota on both sides of the ball, and I think Tyrell's going to have a hard time even putting up the numbers that he put up last week. I think it's going to be tough sledding for him.
Okay, yep, tough matchup for Tyrell Williams, and especially for Josh Jacobs, too. I mean, we'll preview that game tomorrow. Jacobs, we have an injury update on him. He was limited in practice. All right, guys, it is game time. Tully time. The player of the week presented by Tullamore Dew. Dave, Jamie, and Heath are going to select a player who they think will surprise and show out during the weekend slate of games. All right, I'll start again with you, Heath. Who's your game time, Tully time player of the week?
I'll go with DJ Moore, who hasn't been quite as good in fantasy as he should have been yet. He had 24 targets in his first 2 weeks. Now he gets a matchup against the Arizona Cardinals, who look like they may just be the free space in 2019. I don't care if his quarterback is Cam Newton or Kyle Allen or Dave Richard. DJ Moore scoring a touchdown and getting double-digit targets, going over 100 yards this week.
The problem is if I'm the quarterback, I can't throw accurately 5 yards downfield. But that's kind of how it's been for Carolina anyway the past couple of weeks.
And you can't run either. That's how it's been for Carolina. Dave, who's your player of the week presented by Tullamore Dew?
When you think about players being flashy and showing out, you think of Jason Witten. That's right, another old-ass man that we're going to tell you to start in fantasy. He's taking on the Dolphins. I see your free space on Arizona, and I raise you Miami. Witten scored in each of his first 2 games this year. Dolphins are allowing 13 yards per catch at tight ends. Michael Gallup's not going to play. I think he's going to be a red zone threat, and I think he can score again this week, and he's available in over 50% of CBS leagues.
Such a good broadcaster. Jamie, player of the week.
I'll go with James Washington for the Steelers. I think this is going to be the Mason Rudolph to James Washington start of their connection going back to their days at Oklahoma State and get Dante Moncrief out of the way. So Washington did not play well in week 2, but I think that this is an opportunity for what we saw in the preseason to start to carry over to the regular season. So I like the setup for him this week.
All right, so DJ Moore at Arizona, James Washington at Seattle, no, San Francisco. I keep getting those games.
So do I.
So weird.
It's the backup quarterbacks and who they're facing.
Right,
yep.
right.
I keep saying, oh, yeah, the Saints are playing the 49ers. Nope, they're not.
And Jason Witten against Miami. And obviously those are not our 3 favorite players, but these are players who could surprise you this weekend. Also this weekend, we have the Saturday Mailbag Show. iTunes, go on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, ask us a question. We'll read some of them on the mailbag as we did yesterday. We have our Facebook group. So the Facebook group is really a great way to get your questions answered because we get so many emails and tweets and we can't get to all of them. So join our Facebook group. It's just called Fantasy Football Today. And a lot of threads are posted, and you can get feedback. Sometimes I'm in there. Ben Schrager's in there. We do some Q&As. Ben's our producer, our podcast producer. We're giving away that T-shirt if you want to submit a team name. But it's just a community of fantasy football players that listen to the show, and you can bounce ideas around. And Ion Fantasy Football, our Saturday night radio show. Who's on this week, Heath?
I think it's me.
I was on last week.
Dave. Oh, yeah. All right, it's me and Dave. All right, Dave, you ready?
Oh, yeah. We always have a good time on the radio, Adam. Yeah. We take a bunch of calls and get a little loose and loopy on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
There's no better place to be than in front of your radio on a Saturday night listening to fantasy football jargon for 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And last Saturday, I was in such a great mood because I went to the vending machine and I got a bag of chips and 2 bags of chips dispensed, and they were different bags of chips. They were different brands, and they were in the same slot. Like, it was amazing. So those are the types of things that fire me up on Saturday night. Listen to our show 10 to midnight Eastern. Sirius Channel 206, CBS Sports Radio as well. Let's go through the news and notes. Cam Newton seems unlikely to play with a foot injury. So are you getting away from any of the – and we'll preview this game tomorrow, but are you getting away from it's Curtis Samuel, because it seems like Heath's going to start DJ Moore. I think we're all going to start Greg Olsen against the best matchup. So – yeah, how do you feel about Curtis Samuel?
I think he's fine as a low-end flex. I would rather go with the Chiefs guys, Robinson and Hardman over Samuel at this point. But it's not necessarily because of the quarterback change. It's just because I like the game script better for Kansas City's passing game.
Yeah, I would rather go with Samuel over the Chiefs guys. He's a top 40 guy for me. But, again, I agree with Dave, a low-end flex.
He had 2 for 72 in Week 17 at the Saints with Allen as a starter.
Did he score?
A touchdown, yes.
He did. I think he had 4 targets. I don't know. Kyle Allen could be awful. He's an undrafted free agent. He played 1 game last year. Was against.
I think he can be okay. I think he can be okay.
So he's playing a freshman defense. If he was playing a JV defense, then maybe it'd be a different story. Certainly, he's playing a varsity defense, then I can understand. But the defense that he's playing is not very good. Especially, I'm sorry. If it was at home, it'd be a much better situation. That's not my only concern. Is I know it's not a tough place to play, but still going on the road is always something you got to worry about with inexperienced quarterbacks.
Like, if he gets off to a bad start and Arizona jumps out to a big lead, I still think those guys are going to get garbage time. So I'm just not really worried about most of them.
He's from Arizona, right? It's a homecoming game for Kyle Allen, I believe.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. I'll look it up. I got Wikipedia up. Other news. You think so?
I'm looking now.
Oh, he's from Scottsdale, Arizona. He went to high school in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Look at you.
Big
you know. Okay, hotshot. Where's Chase Daniel from? Since you know so much about backup quarterbacks.
From Missouri.
Yeah,
He's
okay. That's where he went to school.
outside-
It's very
Went
good.
to college in Missouri.
Just
Right.
High school in Texas.
outside Ebbing, Missouri. Okay, the Saints are going to use 2 quarterbacks. So does that mean we can't start Teddy Bridgewater in a 2 QB league?
It sucks because I was so ready to go with Teddy Bridgewater. Thought he'd be such a
2
stud.
QB
They
league.
always use 2 quarterbacks every week.
This seems a little different though.
I think this is the fear with Bridgewater is that Sean Payton is infatuated with Taysom Hill, and he may prefer playing Taysom Hill more as a traditional quarterback than what he does clearly when Drew Brees is healthy. So that's something you have to take into account. That my guess is Bridgewater starts. Taysom's going to play.
Okay.
We may see Taysom actually throw the ball in an NFL game.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he'll play receiver for them. They're
Yeah,
real banged up there.
last week.
But we also could see a situation where if Bridgewater struggles, he's going to get yanked.
Maybe when they said they were going to use 2 quarterbacks, they meant at the same time. Because Taysom Hill
Right.
played receiver last week.
Right. Caught a touchdown.
You know you get
Brady-
those points if you use team QBs.
Yeah.
That Taysom Hill's receiving yardage counts. Saints team's QB is going to be good.
So Brady Quinn was on the Pick 6 podcast. He said, quote, people keep talking about this injury to Drew Brees being 6 weeks. I think it's a minimum of 6 weeks. It could be a lot longer than that. People don't realize when you have surgery on your throwing hand and you've got to get all that feeling back and the strength. And I know it's small and people think you can just pick up a football. It doesn't really work like that. You can hear his full comments on the Pick 6 podcast from yesterday.
Yeah, I did the show with him on Monday on HQ, and he was talking about he broke his pointer finger in 2008, I think he said, and it took him 6 weeks to just recover from the surgery, getting the pins taken out, and then he had to go back to gripping the football. It's going to be something that the hope is that it's a 4-week recovery from the surgery, and then like a 2-week getting comfortable, rehab, all those things. Like that's the 6 weeks that you're looking for. But they also have their bye built in there too.
Right. Okay, Tom Brady was limited with a calf injury. He'll play. Jameis Winston, I think, has a foot injury. He'll play. One of our listeners emailed me this morning and said he traded Lamar Jackson for Le'Veon Bell, and he regretted it. And that's what I'm saying. Don't regret it. That's what you should be doing with Lamar
that's
Jackson.
what you're supposed to do, right?
Yes, that's perfect. Running back news. Let's just talk about who we think is going to play here for the most part because we have so many news items. Damian Williams and LaShawn McCoy missed practice. This one maybe requires a little bit more because I think we were all interested in picking up Tyrell Williams last night, right?
I added him in 6 leagues, yeah.
What about Darwin Thompson, gentlemen? Have we forgotten about good old Darwin already?
Well, he's the number 4 running back right now. Like, he is more exciting, but Tyrell Williams was the one that finished off the game last week. I think he'll lead the team in touches if for some reason those guys don't both play. But I get the indication, like, Damian Williams was a knee contusion. I think he's just hurting. I think he's going to be fine. LaShawn McCoy's MRI came back clean. I think he's going to be I expect both these guys to play, but yes, I did add Tyrell Williams just in case.
Right, exactly, just in case.
Oh, I'm being told that Cliff Kingsbury, thank you to Andrew, one of our producers. Cliff Kingsbury recruited Kyle Allen. So a little fun storyline there. All right, yeah. So
He
Darrell
recruited
Williams
everybody.
is deep. Yeah, apparently. James Conner's good to go. Josh Jacobs was limited at practice. He's at Minnesota. Marlon Mack missed practice with a calf injury. We expect Marlon Mack to play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully.
Devin Singletary did not practice. All the things we said about Frank Gore, if Singletary plays, are you getting away from Frank Gore? Does it not matter to you?
Yeah, of course you're going to get away from Frank Gore.
No, I wouldn't rank him that much differently. I've got TJ Yeldon projected for Devin Singletary touches. Devin Singletary is going to have to get double digits in workload before I'm going to think he's going to harm Frank Gore.
Yeah, I get away from Gore. He's just not going to be as explosive.
I wouldn't want to start any Bills running back because you don't know how much work Singletary is going to get. The injury is a step back in him taking over the lead role. Gore could get 12 touches, and it just won't be that much. So you can't take advantage of the matchup.
Matt LaFleur says he wants to give Jamal Williams more touches. He wants to even out the touches between Williams and Aaron Jones.
What the
Good,
hell, man?
good.
What is this?
Way to be a moron.
Do you buy it? Are you nervous about that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's just, he talked about it in the summer. And they're
he hasn't
basically
done it.
playing. I mean, it's like a 55-45 snap count percentage split at this point. But you see who's better.
In your mind, is this a downgrade for Aaron Jones, or is this
No.
just coach speak? All right. Or a little. Okay. All right, then. Jeff Wilson could get the red zone touches after I yelled at Heath for thinking that Jeff Wilson could get the red zone touches. That story came out that Jeff Wilson could get the red zone touches.
Yeah, when we get to that game, I think it's going to be tomorrow, Adam. I've got some interesting numbers on those running backs and their usage from the first 2 weeks of the season.
Malcolm Brown has an ankle injury. Freddie Kitchens said he'd love to get Nick Chubb more touches. All right, we're not going to complain, but he's getting plenty. Wide receiver news. Antonio Brown, he will not be prosecuted, I think, by the county due to statute of limitations. So we are ranking him this week right now, expecting Brown to play. Keith, this came up about an hour into the show yesterday, so in case people missed it, can we get a clarification on A.J. Green's timeline?
We don't have a timeline, but he just had a quote from last week that we seemingly, like everybody, didn't talk about until this week, that the 6 to 8 week timeline he did not think was accurate. It's going to be longer than that. Now, we did the math yesterday after the podcast. Chris and I were looking at it. Sunday, I believe, would be 8 weeks from the time that he was injured, or Saturday would be 8 weeks. So I wouldn't expect him this week. I wouldn't expect him next week, but I think there's a possibility we get him in 2 weeks.
Okay. Alshon Jeffrey day-to-day. Sterling Shepard and Cody Latimer are both dealing with concussions. Seems like Shepard has a better chance to play. Jeffrey, you guys thinking Jeffrey plays or no?
No. Peterson uses day-to-day very liberally when he talks to the media. He might be closer to week.
Well, 2 weeks. I mean, because they play Thursday night in week 4.
Yeah, sure.
Traquan Smith missed practice, and Ted Ginn was limited, so they're banged up there. Tight end news, Mark Andrews missed practice. He's expected to play. Trey Burton could get more work this week. Dallas Goedert has a calf strain. David Njoku may need wrist surgery. Jordan Reed practiced, but he's still uncertain. Offensive line news, Kansas City left tackle Eric Fisher is out several games with a core muscle injury. He barely played at Oakland. It did not matter. It'll be a stiffer test this week against Baltimore. Rams right guard Austin Blythe has a sprained ankle, so he will probably not play this week at Cleveland on Sunday night. Oakland right tackle Trent Brown has a knee injury, but they are getting Richie Incognito back to play guard at Minnesota this week. Cornerbacks, A.J. Boye is questionable with a hip injury for tonight's game, but Jalen Ramsey will play. Jason Lockenfora says that the Eagles, Chiefs, and Seahawks are 3 teams that are interested in Ramsey. Darius Leonard's in the concussion protocol still. That could help Devontae Freeman, who's off to a terrible start. Denver cornerback Bryce Callahan could play this week, and that would give them 2 really good corners going up against Green Bay in Lambeau.
He's their nickel, so that would help them out a lot.
And that would probably move Chris Harris to the outside to potentially shadow Devontae Adams.
That's exactly what they'll do.
D. Ford is questionable for San Francisco against Pittsburgh, and Matt Bosher, do not start him. He has a groin injury. We're going to take a break and get into rankings in just a minute with some 60-second rankings disputes. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. "60 seconds on the clock, kind of. Let's debate. All right, this will be Dave versus Heath. Dave has Matthew Stafford 9th. Heath has Stafford 23rd. And Jamie has him right in the middle, 16th. Heath, low on Stafford.
Yeah, I'm just not sure my opinion has changed that much on Matthew Stafford. He was awesome against the Free Space Cardinals, but last week, 245, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions against the Chargers. This is kind of a prove-it week for me. There are a lot of good quarterbacks. I really haven't moved Matthew Stafford that much in my expectations.
I'm buying right back into him. First of all, this Eagles defense hasn't been great. They allowed over 320 yards and 3 touchdowns apiece to Matt Ryan and Case Keenum in week 1. Stafford hasn't been spotless, like you said, but he's still getting 8.4 yards per attempt, 65% of his passes. And I think the Lions are shifting their identity offensively. They got rid of C.J. Anderson. He's not a passing downs back. They want to throw the ball around a little bit more. I think Stafford's in line to be a top 10 quarterback this week.
Oh, all right. Good stuff. Matthew Stafford, we will preview that game tomorrow. Let's do James Conner now at San Francisco. Jamie versus Dave. Jamie, you have Conner 11th. Dave has him 19th. This is PPR. Conner off to a bad start this year, but Jamie, you've got him in the top 12. So we'll start with you. Heath, by the way, is in the middle at 14th. Go ahead, Jamie.
I just expect Mason Rudolph to check down a lot to James Conner, just knowing that he's going to, be a little bit skittish in the pocket. And so, I mean, obviously this is contingent on James Conner being healthy, but I think you see that a lot of times with young quarterbacks. They find a safety valve, a reliable option. And I like the fact that Conner is a very good pass-catching running back that I think they've underutilized through 2 games.
Yeah, so Connor is good. He's just not great. I'm worried about Jalen Samuels taking work away, and I think Vance McDonald is going to be that check down guy for Mason Rudolph. San Francisco's run defense looked much better to me last week than it did in week 1. They're back at home, and I think they'll sell out to stop Connor and force Mason Rudolph to throw. That's why I've got Connor as a number 2 running back and not a number 1 guy.
All right, I'll skip Frank Gore since we already got to him a little, and we'll talk about him later. How about Calvin Ridley? Oh, man, Heath, you have Calvin Ridley 26th. Dave has him 11th and Jamie 16th. So we'll go Dave versus Heath here. Calvin Ridley at Indianapolis. Heath, you can start. You're the low guy outside the top 24 with Ridley.
Yeah, I project the volume to be closer to what it was in week 1 when he caught 4 passes for 64 yards. I've got him for 5 for 60 this week. And then it just comes down to whether he scores a touchdown. This is not me hating on Calvin Ridley. He is amongst a group of wide receivers, that really ranges from right about where Jamie has him all the way down to number 30 that are all within about 1.5 points in the projections. It's just whether or not he scores a touchdown. I don't think he's going to score a touchdown every single week. So he's a fine number 2.
Bless you, Dirk Cutter. You've done an amazing job so far in Atlanta, and I expect it to keep happening. Look, defenses are in a bind because they've got to defend against Julio and Ridley. Ridley has proven to have that great deep speed. Matt Ryan and his offensive line. That line can pass protect. They can't run block very well. And I think this could be a sneaky high-scoring game between the Colts and the Falcons. Atlanta's going to do their thing. Calvin Ridley's going to do his. I don't see how you can get away from starting him.
All right, so Jamie's got him 16th, Dave 11th, and Heath 26th. That's Calvin Ridley. And finally, DJ Moore. So we got into this. This will be Jamie versus Heath. Heath's the high guy on Moore, 8th in PPR. 8th! Whee! And Jamie 31st, Dave 28th, for what it's worth. Jamie, tell Heath he's crazy.
I think I kind of go back to what Heath was saying about Calvin Ridley. There's a group of receivers that through from 20 through 35 that I think can all play very well. 8's a little too high. I think like where Sportsline has him is probably as high as I would go at 22. He hasn't scored through 2 games, and I think you have to expect that the 7 for 70, whatever it was in week 1, and 8 for 90, 8 for 89. In week 2, I would probably just knock that down a little bit. With Allen, if he's the starter, the defense is terrible, but the quarterback may be terrible also. So it's just looking at it as like my expectations for him would probably be like 6 for 70, and that puts him closer to probably 25-ish in PPR.
Yeah, there are only 2 wide receivers with more targets than DJ Moore so far this season, Michael Thomas and Keenan Allen. There are 2 other guys that have as many targets as he does. None of those other guys get to play the Cardinals this week. I expect double-digit targets once again. I do think he gets into the end zone this week. I love me some DJ Moore this week.
I think it's like so bold to put him 8th with Kyle Allen playing. Why not just put him 15th?
I don't like Cam Newton has been really. I like Cam Newton a lot. I'm not saying it's a bad quarterback. He's been bad.
It's a trust factor though. Norv Turner would trust an injured Cam Newton probably more so than he would trust a healthy Kyle Allen. This is going to be a Christian McCaffrey game, I think, more so than anything else, as much as they want to just lean on him. And then I think it's beating up at the position that's beat up this team, which is Greg Olsen.
Look, I'm just 8th because it just could go so poorly with Kyle Allen, 8th?
He's 8th.
All right, Heath, you know what? I applaud because you could take the easy way out and make him like 18th and be like, oh, yeah, I said start him. But you are all in. And that is awesome. Good for you. Okay, we got the Startometer. We got the games to get to. If we could do a little trade talk for just a few minutes, I got some guys that I want to ask you about. Just buy, sell, hold. And basically, if you say buy, either it means in the context of you'd buy low or you just, believe in the guy, basically. Sell, you don't believe in the production, see what you can get, or hold. Let's just see where it's going. So let's start with Chris Carson. Chris Carson is RB9 in PPR. He has 9 catches in 2 games, but has maybe a bit of a fumble problem, as Ben Gretsch pointed out. Chris Carson, buy, sell, hold.
Hold. For sure, hold.
James Conner, averaging 2.6 yards per carry, only 21 carries in 2 games, but 7 catches in 2 games. Buy, sell, hold.
Buy.
Hold.
It's a hold if you have him, and a buy if somebody's sick of him already. Maybe they're nervous about the knee, and they'll trade him to you cheap.
Why wouldn't you be nervous about James Conner? I mean,
I don't think he's in danger of losing his job. He's just got the injury to deal with.
I'm not going to sell probably what is his lowest point of the season.
Exactly. With both of these running backs, you can't sell them.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'm buying Carson either.
Give me a running back that you think Connor is sort of equivalent to right now, rest of season.
Joe Mixon.
I'd rather have Connor than Mixon.
Me too.
But I mean, two
Yeah,
guys
they're close.
Two guys that were drafted in the first 15 overall picks that have gotten off to slow starts.
I still think highly of Connor. I've got him ahead of Carson, Fournette, Mixon. This is going to sound crazy to people because Eckler's the number one running back in fantasy, but we just don't know about Melvin Gordon and how he'll impact Eckler. But I've got him higher than Eckler.
I'll say David Johnson.
They're back to back. I got Johnson a little bit higher than Connor on the trade chart.
Okay. Emmanuel Sanders, wide receiver 3 in PPR, leads the NFL in red zone targets, second most targets inside the 5. Emmanuel Sanders, buy, sell, hold.
I think he's a great sell because he's playing great right now. You drafted him late. You probably have him as your third or fourth wide receiver. If you're not in dire straits at that position, you can trade him to get help somewhere else from someone who is in dire straits at wide receiver.
So,
yep.
Okay. How about Larry Fitzgerald? He leads the NFL in targets inside the 10-yard line, and he has the third most targets in the NFL, and so far he's wide receiver 13, Larry Fitzgerald.
So
I would sell if I thought I could get something good in return, but I think he can keep it up.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. But same thing with Sanders. You're getting something that is someone you got with probably a later round pick, and you're getting just unbelievable production from it. So if you can get some help elsewhere, it's not a bad idea to sell.
I'm actually going to buy Larry but why wouldn't I? Larry's been my guy for my entirety of my employment at CBS. The way they're targeting him down the field, the fact that they've thrown 94 passes through 2 games, it's a high volume offense. He may just be a top 12 wide receiver there.
And Kyler is making some unreal throws. If you go back and watch the Baltimore game, just some tight window, back foot, crazy pants throws.
It's a mixed combination between those and then like Josh Allen throws.
It's kind of
Who do you
dumb
like
luck
better?
too, but it's amazing. Happens too much to be dumb luck.
Sanders or Fitzgerald rest of season?
Larry.
Fitzgerald.
I think it's got to be Larry.
Okay. If you don't really have any interest in watching the game tonight, like you wish something could spice it up for you, why don't you try going to FanDuel? You can play 1-game contests on FanDuel. It's pretty cool. You can also play the full slate of games or the Sunday main slate. That's what we talk about the most. There are $1 contests. There are high-stakes contests. You can play 50-50s where half the contest wins, or you can play tournaments where not that many people win, but you win a lot more. I play both. So get on FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/FFT. Sign up, deposit $20, and get $20 in site credit. So that's all you got to do at FanDuel.com/FFT. Look, you're bummed because you have Drew Brees or Ben Roethlisberger, or you put all your stock in Eli Manning this year, right? Go to FanDuel. Get any quarterback you want. Start Patrick Mahomes this week. Start Lamar Jackson if you want. But I'll tell you why it might not be the greatest idea in a little bit. But, you can do it. You can make any lineup you want on FanDuel. You just got to fit it within the budget. You can make great teams. You compete against other people who love fantasy football and get to test your wits and your skills at fantasy football. It is so fun, and I love it. So sign up for FanDuel now. Get $20 in total bonus. Just make your first deposit of $20 to get started and get an extra $5 in site credit every week for 4 weeks. That's FanDuel.com/FFT or download the FanDuel app. FanDuel.com/FFT. Startometer 0 to 10. Frank Gore against Cincinnati.
10.
Wow.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking how many years until he was a member of AARP.
5.
6.5.
5.
7.
How about Josh Allen at Buffalo or against Cincinnati?
8.
8 is a good number.
John Ross, 8 touchdowns in 9 games without A.J. Green.
Solid 6, Adam.
4.
4.5.
I just want to give my favorite stat of the week. I'll give it in a second. I have to get it. Sony Michel against the Jets.
9.
10 in non-PPR, 6 in PPR.
Sure.
Stat of the game for Cincinnati Buffalo. Buffalo has allowed 2 pass plays of 20-plus yards so far this year. It's the second fewest in the NFL. Last year, they allowed the fewest pass plays of 40-plus yards. They don't give up big plays.
Right.
Cincinnati already has, they already have 3 pass plays of 40-plus yards. John Ross already has 3 touchdowns of 33 or more yards. So it is big play John Ross against a team that just does not give them up. And I'm very interested in that matchup. James White against the Jets.
6.
1 in non-PPR and 5 in PPR.
7 in PPR, 1 in none.
Just the 5 in PPR. Interest for Jamie. Interesting. All right, we'll get to that game. Robbie Anderson.
Nope.
-3.
Okay. Jamison Crowder.
Nope.
-2.
1.
Chris Thompson at Chicago.
3.1415927.
Is that a home game?
Mm.
Where's that game? That game's in
7.
Washington.
It's a home game.
7 in PPR, 1 in none.
Agree.
Terry McLaurin.
5.
3.
4.6.
Allen Robinson.
5.
7.
That equals 12 for 5.
5. David Montgomery.
7.
7.
8.
Tarik Cohen.
3.
0 in non-PPR and 4 in PPR.
7 in PPR, 1 in non-PPR.
Is this it? Is this your last stand with Tarik Cohen?
I don't know why it was my last stand. He was a good start in week 1. Like, he was good in one
Yeah, he
week,
was.
not good another week. So, like, he's the same as James White and Chris Thompson.
If you play the game script thing, though, like they were trailing in week 1, and he had 8 catches, and a lot of them late. They won in week 2. It was a close game. If they beat Washington handily here, isn't that bad for Tarik Cohen?
Not unless he's part of the reason they beat him badly.
It's a gamble. I mean, look, this is the thing you have to deal with these pass catching running backs is, you have to hope for an 8 for 40 game. Was that what he was?
Yeah, something like that.
He had 12 PPR points. Yeah, I don't know if that was a start.
Week 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Baltimore, Kansas City. Let's get to it here. So Baltimore, like their pass defense might not be that great. They don't have nickelback Tavon Young for the year. Jimmy Smith's hurt. They've had some issues in their secondary. Their safety, Tony Jefferson, said the errors are fixable. So Patrick Mahomes is the number 1 quarterback for everybody. So whatever. But let's actually flip it to Baltimore first, offensively. And here's your stat of the game for this game. In 10 home games, Kansas City allowed more than 22 fantasy points this last year. In 6-point per passing touchdown leagues only once. That was their first home game of the year. It was against Jimmy Garoppolo. Rivers, Jackson, Brady, Luck all failed to score more than 22 fantasy points. So there's also this stat, which is a little deceiving. But last year, the Chiefs gave up 34.6 points per game on the road, 23.3 points per game at home. But they had an easier schedule at home. But anyway, do you still love Lamar Jackson this week?
Yes.
Yep.
I don't like him as much as I did last week. He's still a top 5 quarterback. I'm not planning on using him in DFS, and I'm a little bit concerned, Adam, that like this number you're giving, I think there's a chance this game's a little more low scoring than what the Vegas number says it is.
What's the Vegas line?
55?
I think it dropped to 53.
Down to 53 now. So the bettors seem to agree.
I would take the over.
Okay.
I would absolutely take the over.
Oh, it's down to 52.5 now. It's dropped 2.5 points.
Yeah, I may have to consider firing off a wager there. I think the offensive line can protect Jackson when he goes back to throw. I don't think the secondary for Kansas City is very good. I think he's got speedy receivers just like Kansas City has. And I checked to see how on target his passes were. I checked in with the guys at Sports Info Solution. 77% of his throws are on target. That's pretty good for him. It's not great for like NFL, the elite caliber quarterbacks. They're in the 90s. But for him, that's better than I would have thought it would be. I would have been a month ago when I was talking badly about Lamar Jackson. He's off to another great start. It's another great matchup for him. I think he's a must start. And I love Marquise Brown too, by the way.
All right, yeah. So you're starting Lamar Jackson. The only players that we have ranked ahead of Jackson are Mahomes and Dak for Dave, Mahomes, Dak, and Brady for Heath. Mark Ingram, on the other hand, might be some disagreement on. He is not involved in the passing game. He had 2 catches in week 2. He had none in week 1. So, good start, great start. How do you feel about Mark Ingram?
He's a star of the week.
Yeah, I think that tells you. That should tell you what you need to know.
Okay, well, hope it goes better than last week. We don't need any season-ending.
He got banged up last week.
No.
Oh, you mean the start of the week? Yeah, he got banged up too.
Yes, he did. Okay. So, but Heath, you have him a little lower, around 20th.
I don't love him in PPR. And I worry a little bit about how many points they're going to put up in this game. And if they're playing from behind, how much involvement he has.
That's the thing. We haven't seen that, so we don't know. And I think, you look at last year, the way that the Ravens played the Chiefs, again, it was in Baltimore, and I think the way most teams are going to try and play the Chiefs is you slow the game down. You try and keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands and, dominate time of possession. And they ran for over 5 yards per carry with the combination of Gus Edwards and Kenneth Dixon. Dixon scored a touchdown. I think you look at the 2 games for the Chiefs so far. Leonard Fournette had 80 total yards. Clearly, they lost the quarterback in that game. Josh Jacobs had 99 rushing yards. Got hurt in the game. It's hard to say like where their defense is at in terms of the 2 offensives that they faced so far. I think what Baltimore is going to try and do is be physical with them offensively and lean on Mark Ingram as much as they can. And I was encouraged the fact that he had the 2 catches last week after not needing him to catch the ball in week 1 against Miami when he ran for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it's really sort of I think an unknown what his passing game production could be. I don't expect him to be Tarik Cohen, the best pass catching running back of all time, with his 8 catches in week 1. But I think he can be 4 catches, as we saw from him in New Orleans when things were going well. That's on the high end, But I think if he gets, 2 for 30 and the chance to run for 80 yards and score a touchdown, I think that's kind of where he'll be.
Cool. All right. So Mark Ingram, He's the low guy, 27th in PPR, 20th in non-PPR, but Dave and Jamie have Ingram as a solid start. Would you give any consideration to starting in a PPR league Marquise Brown, Demarcus Robinson, or Mecole Hardman over Mark Ingram?
Yes.
Definitely
Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I think he's got a great opportunity.
I love Marquise Brown this week. I think I might like Marquise Brown every week.
Okay, so Marquise Brown's a must-start at this point?
I've got him as a number 2 receiver. I've got him at 20 in PPR.
He's borderline number 1 for me.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm too low.
I think I'm the low guy on him as well. I've got him 29 in PPR. I think he'll be good. He's right in that same range as Calvin Ridley. I hope he scores a touchdown.
Okay. And then Mark Andrews.
It's interesting, though, that you like DJ Moore so much with his backup quarterback compared to Marquise Brown, who also had a big target spike last week. And we don't know, again, they played the paper Dolphins in week 1, like what the targets could potentially continue to be for him.
Yeah, I'm just going to take the guy that got double-digit targets both weeks as opposed to the one that didn't. And I'm just a little bit worried about the
I understand, Rick. It's just, looking at just a 2-game sample size and, for a guy that may be better than DJ Moore.
I would be encouraged by what we saw from Brown in week 2. He went from 14 snaps to over 50. He ran almost 40 routes in the game.
It was a more competitive game.
And he's got speed that's uncoverable. There isn't anybody on, and I don't know if there's anybody in the league that can cover this guy. So if Lamar Jackson has time to throw, it's going to work.
It's not just that, but you want to talk about the targets. I mean, he had a third of Lamar Jackson's targets in week 1 and a fourth of Lamar Jackson's targets in week 2. Lamar Jackson is basically only throwing to Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. They have combined for 35 targets on 63 passes if you include RG3. So that is more than 50% of the team's targets going to 2 players, and they may have to throw more in this game. Start Mark Andrews. He is top 4 non-PPR. He is top 5 in PPR. Patrick Mahomes, number 1 overall. What are you doing with the Chiefs running backs here? Like, it's not a good matchup. I don't know that actually matters, but give me the basic guidelines for what we're doing with the Chiefs running back.
Williams in PPR is really the only one I'm considering. I don't think the Chiefs are going to have much success running the ball against Baltimore. They're giving up like 1.8 yards per carry, and they couldn't run the ball very effectively against the Oakland Raiders.
Again, it's what the Ravens have played.
That's true.
They played JV team.
Sure, but the Chiefs played the Raiders, so they couldn't run against them.
I do think the Raiders may be a better run defense than we think. They did a pretty decent
Ravens,
job.
Though?
But worse than the Ravens.
No. But I think from the Chiefs' perspective is, if you at this point you want one of the 2 guys to miss and one to play. Either way, you want Damian Williams to sit and you get LaShawn McCoy and see how that goes. You want McCoy to sit and then see how Damian Williams goes. None of them is a slam dunk start by any stretch.
They're flexes.
So I think it's just a matter of it helps the scenario if one guy is out of the two main ones. If they're both out, Andy Reid was very complimentary of Darwin Thompson yesterday, and I still think he would be the better of the two comparatively to Tyrell Williams. While Williams may play more, it's almost like the Bills situation. Devin Singletary's got a much higher ceiling than Frank Gore when they're both on the field.
I just need to clarify something because, at the top of the show, I said we were all looking to pick up Tyrell Williams. Dave said, why not Chris Thompson? Well, or Darwin Thompson. Yeah, he's 54% owned, Darwin Thompson. Tyrell Williams was basically unowned, so that was why I was picking up Tyrell Williams. But also, Andy Reid made a comment about, that Darwin Thompson needs to know the pass protection. So we'll hopefully have an update.
Here's what Andy Reid said. I have the quote right in front of me. As long as I feel like I want to see if it started. Oh, here it is. So he wants to make sure he knows his assignments as a pass blocker before he gets a lot of playing time. As long as I feel like he knows what he's doing, I'm good with it. He'll stick it up in there and hit you. It's just a matter of seeing it. He's young, so he hasn't seen everything there is to see. He's getting there. I feel comfortable with him in there.
And he looked good as a pass protector in the preseason. Very good.
I believe in a Chiefs running back even in a bad matchup. Because when I looked at their bad matchups last year, they had two running backs, Ware and Damian Williams.
But last week was an indication about how bad they both can be when there's two of them splitting time.
Yeah.
I guess so, but sure. But last year, Ware and Williams both did well against Baltimore. They both scored 17 or more fantasy points in PPR. I just think you're going to need some pass production. All right, how about the wide receivers? Sammy Watkins, everybody's going to start, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
But what about Hardman and Robinson, who are both still available in like 40% of leagues?
I think you still look at Robinson over Hardman, but they're both wild cards. You're still talking about they took their foot off the gas. So 6 targets could end up being 12 in a competitive game. For both those guys. Now that's unrealistic that both will get that high of a target share, but one of these guys has a good chance to score. It's just a matter of which one has the breakaway play and which one is left uncovered with all the creative schemes that Andy Reid's going to throw at you. So it's they're number 3 receivers in 3 receiver leagues. They're flex options in 2 receiver leagues, especially PPR. But it's not a slam dunk situation for either one.
And the only reason why I've got Robinson ahead of Hardman is because he can do more. Like, we haven't seen Hardman do anything other than run the go route, maybe a couple of screens.
We also haven't seen him do anything in the backfield yet, too. So that's something that's coming.
That
I would say Hardman could do more. Robinson's a more polished receiver, I think, is what you're getting at.
Sure. And just the way that he can go up and fight defensive backs for 50-50 balls. And he's got speed, too. He's somebody that the Ravens are going to have a hard time covering, and they're going to have to give him single coverage because they're not going to want to get burned by Sammy. What they're probably going to end up doing is playing a little bit more zone than they're used to doing. Baltimore likes to be a man-to-man type of cover team. I don't know if they can get away with doing that here.
Yeah, we talked to Brian McFadden yesterday on the Pick 6 podcast, and he thinks they're going to get up and just play bump and run on everybody like the Patriots did.
Really?
He said that's what they should.
I think they're going to get burned.
Just get up. Well, he said it worked for the Patriots for 3.5 quarters in the playoffs.
It worked for the Ravens for 3.5 quarters last year, too. I talked to Eric Weddle about it at the Pro Bowl, and he said we had the perfect game plan, and then Mahomes became Mahomes.
Yep.
And so
their secondary is not as good.
Oh, totally agree.
That's part of the reason why I think zone makes sense.
I think the biggest thing is their pass rush isn't the same either. So you can get by in the secondary comparatively to without. If you have a good pass rush, you get by. Their pass rush isn't the same. So they're not.
We're gonna
sure, if they're gonna blitz.
Guys, let's wrap up. Let's wrap up here on this game. Start Travis Kelce and avoid the DSTs. And DeMarcus Robinson, by the way, is now 75% owned, but Hardman is still like 57% owned. We got 6 more games coming up here, and we'll compare Robinson and Hardman to other players as we go along. But one thing that you cannot compare anything to when it comes to buying tickets is the SeatGeek app. I got that SeatGeek app on my phone. I tell everybody about it. All my friends and family use the SeatGeek app when they want to go to a game, concert, comedy, theater. That is the truth. It is just the best. It is just going to get you better prices because it's about competition. It finds sites, it finds tickets from all over the web. That's the thing. You don't have to go out and search all these different places. You let SeatGeek do it for you. Ticketing websites, they make getting to the event difficult. They don't care about the customer, but SeatGeek does. That's why SeatGeek has over 50,000 5-star reviews. That's great customer satisfaction. So SeatGeek pulls together all these tickets, rates each deal on a scale of 1 to 10, puts them on an interactive seat map, makes it really easy for you to find those great values. You look for the big green dots. Those are the best values. Every purchase fully guaranteed. You can shop for tickets with confidence. I can't tell you how many times I've used SeatGeek. It's basically all I use now. So just start using the SeatGeek app. I've gone to Yankees games, Hurricanes, everything. Concerts, all the time, SeatGeek. So if you want $10 off your first purchase, use the SeatGeek app and use the promo code FFT. Download the SeatGeek app, and the promo code is FFT for $10 off your first purchase. One more time, promo code FFT on SeatGeek, $10 off your first purchase. Well, that is going to do it for the video portion of Fantasy Football today. For you audio listeners, get excited for Rams at Browns. Thank you to our video crew for doing such an awesome job. And make sure you're watching us, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today, especially on Sunday nights. We get those videos out nice and early. All right, audio portion coming up next. Thanks for tuning in.